All right, so we are driving a 23 550 or 5500. It's so annoying. 350, 250, 5500, 2500. You guys know what I'm saying. It's a Dodge because I wanted to see what I'd like to do, being my 6'7" is almost paid off, is to get a real work truck for the farm and to pull the Mini with and to do all the other work things. This is going to be an Aisin, or an Aisin, or whatever the heck it is. I don't even really like Aisins at all, but I wanted to see what she was like because the Dodge definitely builds a very tough chassis cab vehicle. I've never driven a chassis cab. And I also have never owned a dually. So what I was thinking about doing was getting something that would be a longer than a long bed. And this specific one has a giant box, which is not the one we'd be getting. It would be a flatbed with a gooseneck and a conventional hitch. So speed control set. She obviously gets up to speed just fine. What I was curious about for doing long road trips, pulling a trailer that might be have snowmobiles or power equipment or whatever, or potentially when we get some really cool builds built, is to go out to Moab. Is something I'd really love to do. It's kind of been a dream thing, is go out to Moab. And having a truck that maybe has a welder on it, and this doesn't have a dual fuel tank, but the one that I would probably be looking at has a dual fuel tank, because that would be 52 gallons plus 22, so a pretty hefty amount of range, on top of having a transfer tank in the truck that would also have a pump on it, and I could put a welder in here to bring with me so I could fix things along the way, have plenty of room for tools. The flatbed would have 2 lockable tool cabinets in it, so to bring impactors and sawzalls and all the things you get into, and maybe a die grinder or 2 or whatever. And when you have a portable welder, you'd have a generator. So I'm tossing around the idea of getting a good heavy-duty truck to use to tow the Mini and to do general working operations, so that I'm not putting crazy miles on my mud tires, so I could leave my truck for doing hunting, traveling, general, maybe some off-roading, that sort of thing, and then have a work truck that always stays hooked to the trailers, does the jobs, doesn't have mud tires that are getting tore up. This truck, and I would only get one with 4-wheel drive, and I do actually really like the Dodge 4-wheel drive shifters. It's a very similar shifter from my 03 Cummins. Dodge is one of those companies that hasn't really changed too much. This 2023 reminds me a lot of my 2017 Power Wagon in terms of interior, appearance, fit and finish, space. I will say right now, this truck has a lot less driver space. I have the seat all the way back, and I could tip the seat back, but I don't like with having a seat, vertical. Or I'm sorry, I don't like having the seat laid back. I like it more up and down. I'm pretty close, being, I am a bigger guy, but I'm pretty close to the steering wheel. I have really long arms. I could touch, the windshield of my arms. So definitely the operating space is a little bit smaller. Though I will say, it's still comfortable, and it's just something I'd have to get used to. It reminds me a lot of my dad's truck, that G56 manual trans truck. And I will say, too, that the ride is actually quite nice. This is in a, super smooth section of roadway, and it actually rides really, really well. For what it is. This is a dually 5500 series. This is as close to a medium-duty truck as you're going to get when it's still a light truck. And arguably, being its chassis cab, it could be considered a light medium-duty truck. We have a pretty attractive gauge cluster for sure. These new trucks are, these new Ford 450s, 550s, and these Dodges definitely have a extremely attractive, they're pickup truck interiors. You get your trickle down from your normal pickup truck right into a pretty heavy-duty truck. We are turning at 55, a little short of 1900 RPM, so probably about 18 or 1780, or, we're really close to 1800 RPM, okay? So yeah, definitely an easy compromise in terms of I don't know what gear ratio this truck has, but the Aisin does seem to have a pretty good overdrive gear. Now, I'm not enthused 100% with, you can't really get a whole lot of crazy rebuild stuff, or at least you couldn't back in the day. Randy Wise, being Randy's Transmissions, that guy is a pretty cool dude, and he's pushed these transmissions pretty hard, as well as the 68 RFE, and nowadays you can get a pretty stout, I would say, Aisin built. I do not know if they have any high horsepower input, intermediate, and output shafts. I don't know about the standing of that. That was one of the reasons I didn't like it to start with, is not having a pretty stout option for that. Now, what I don't see here is on this more basic, I don't see any menus where you can see fuel economy readout. I don't see that that's a thing. Our dash has just got, well, actually, hold on, you can actually scroll through. Screen setup, messages, audio, trailer tow. Trip info, okay. So there is trailer tow, fuel economy. Can you reset? Yeah, you can. Okay, so I lied. There is actually. Let's reset this and see where we're at. Now, this does have a big, huge service box on it, so it's not going to get the greatest fuel economy, because I'm basically towing a turd behind me. But it looks like it's getting 9 or 10 in this combination at 55. So that's going to be worth some research to kind of see. It certainly isn't going to be RPM caused, but you're turning some really heavy axles, and you're turning some really heavy steel wheels and pretty heavy, I'm sure they're H's or more tire rating. So pretty decent set of tires. So we're going to probably turn around here. Definitely travels as you would expect. I mean, I would hope a truck is able to go down the interstate okay. But it's quite comfortable at 55. We'll turn around here in a few minutes. I'm seriously considering buying one of these. So I'm going to continue test driving it and see what I think, because I am very seriously interested in one of these trucks, because it would solve some pretty decent problems for me. We are at a good bit over the rated capacity of my 6.7, towing the dump trailer in terms of tongue weight, especially when you get a couple guys in the truck or something. So, and we're probably getting there. We're definitely over it with the Mini on the trailer. So there's definitely some applications where I think having a dual rear wheel would be super nice, and having four-wheel drive settles a little bit of a compromise that you can have with going with a heavy-duty truck, especially with dualies. Dualies are terrible off-road. Definitely a vehicle you probably would try to avoid doing excessive off-road. So we're going to wing over here. We'll kind of see how the brakes feel. Looks like it's got a good engine brake. Feel that? Hard to see. Yep, there's someone behind me. Definitely don't need to use much vehicle brake when you're slowing down gingerly. We're going to wheel in here to the Mennonite store, which is the most amazing thing. It's a bit of a hike from where I live, but that's okay. Foot slipped off. So one of the things about Dodges I've noticed is that the pedals are kind of skewed a little bit to the right. So it's, especially compared to my Ford, so it's a little bit different. One of the things I want to test really quickly, I'm going to try to not be, actually I'd like to come shopping here later on, but we're going to see what the turning radius is like. I've never driven a wide track front axle truck. All of my experience has been with, and I have towed with a dually before, but it was just a 3500 dually, and it was an older truck. I would like to see what it's like having the wide track front axle. So what we're going to do here is we're going to gently pull into the parking lot and kind of see where we're at. It's pretty amazing. I mean, granted, I'm used to towing some pretty big stuff. This is a fairly big truck. I mean, we're talking like a 10 or 11 foot, bed in the back. So we're going to go straight here. Let's try to pull into this parking lot. Holy mackerel. All right, we're going to do that again because it's so impressive. We're going to do that again. Oh, my foot fell off the brake. It is something that you have to feel, the difference between a Dodge pedal alignment and a Ford. It is definitely something you have to get used to. See, did it again. So you got to force yourself you get your foot, you have to get used to it, is what I'm getting at. It's different. Wait for this car to turn because I don't know what they're doing. All right, we're going to try this again. I'm going to film it a little bit better. Watch this. This is a very realistic parking lot demo here, okay? Put turn signal on so nobody questions that. All right, we're going to come on the far right-hand side, so you're in Walmart, right? And we're going to park in that spot right here. Watch this. Literally, I don't even have all the steering in. And we can pull literally no problem. Wow. Now here's the question. How tight will it turn? Let the person go. We're going to try this again. But we're going to see how tight we can make this thing turn. Because that wasn't even close to the stop. Seriously, that is super impressive. I'm sure this truck turns better than my short bed 250. Which is pretty amazing. And one of the biggest reasons I'm considering getting a, well, chassis cab is mostly because I know I don't want to have a bed. I want to have a flat bed. And the, you know, a heavy duty truck. So we're going to come up here. We're going to go try to go in that place. Let's see how far past it. All right. Here's all the way over. We went way past it. Look at that. Look at that. That is ludicrous. That is absolutely incredible. Definitely one of the reasons I wanted to buy one of these trucks or to take a look. Have never driven them, and by no means am I saying the Ford isn't that good too. I'm sure it is, because that is exactly why these are one of the selling points, you might say, of getting one of these bigger trucks. And I really like it, I'm not gonna lie. So we'll stand down a little bit, just kind of see. This is a young truck, so it kind of jumped to downshift or an upshift there, but now it's probably for emissions that it jumped to downshift. Now, this is another thing to keep in mind. Obviously, this truck has full emissions. And I'm tempted on, with Corey Willis now coming out with emissions-compliant tuning, that would be an application for this truck. So my first homework is going to be to email PPEI and ask them when they're going to have Aisin Cummins intact tuning for a 5500 chassis cab. I think that would be unbelievable to have. Wow, I'm sitting here, coming here as a Ford guy, loving my 6.7, which I do. We're going to wait for one more. There's another car coming, so just give me a second. I'm not in a huge rush. I'll let this car go. I'm not in a terribly big rush. That's WFO. So that's 55. So even if that was half the time when you're towing a big trailer, still respectable. Now, I'm going to ask him what the output rating is on this truck. We should be speed control settings at 55. Definitely impressed. Hugely impressed with this truck. I can definitely see how people who aren't performance, I guess I've grown up a lot since I was younger. I always wanted to have the fastest thing. And I'm sure some of you can understand that. Maybe some of you watching either are still in that mode of speed is king, or maybe you're also out of it like I am. Reliability is one of the things I'm a little bit concerned about with the Aisin and the hydraulic lifters on the new Cummins. Definitely have seen some failures with that. But I also do quite like the Cummins architecture and how easy it is to service it. Oh, and I'm not getting rid of my 6.7, by the way. My 6.7 Power Stroke will be with me forever, and the entire point is to have something else to be putting miles on so that I'm not just beating the tar out of my truck up to 400,000 miles in the next couple of years. We'll be using especially some, because these heavy-duty trucks are going to have really, really hard highway tires. They last a really long time. And the problem is, for me, is, sure, you could get a set of really hard heavy-duty highway tires and put it on my truck, right? But then it's going to suck at everything else I do with it. So there's an argument to be made about having a vehicle that is your work truck and then a vehicle that is your play truck. And, you know, I understand it's a luxury to be able to do that. Get it? I'm just in awe. I really, really like it. I could totally see having this as my work truck and my 6.7 is my play truck. I could totally see it. That's why I test drove it. I am quite literally very pleased. So maybe some of you guys are considering that move because this truck is your only truck, especially if you're an off-roader, or maybe you have an off-grid cabin, or you would like to have an off-grid cabin, or maybe a more remote cabin where you might need to hit 2 tracks and whatever. This probably isn't going to be the truck for you. But if most of your activities are going to be dirt road and cement road, and you want to tow heavy things, and then you want to go play in the weekend, so you work during the week to pay for your weekends off, man, this thing's a beast. And my other thing that I definitely wanted to do, first of all, I'm hooked on snowmobiling. We're going to have a video on that. I had a dandy of a time in Canada. I'm going to have a video on that. And I know I'm going to want to do that in the future. My next truck will absolutely have a 6-passenger arrangement, not a center console, so that even though it'll be packed and tight, in theory you're only going to go snowmobiling with your good friends, and you pack in and is what it is, you know. Definitely want to have that option. I absolutely love the carpet delete. Totally dig it. Love the 4-wheel drive shifter on the Cummins. I'm a Cummins guy. I definitely am through and through. This truck will never be a speed demon. It'll never be anything. I am a little interested in why it slammed that 1 to 2 shift so early. That was a little weird. Could have been the throttle angle because it wasn't quite going full throttle. Could have just, you know, been in a portion in the tune where it decided it wanted to upshift at that point, which is fine. It's a little different, but and probably a little bit hard on it. That's one of the things that Corey is going to offer with his tuning is, or his emissions and tech tuning, is transmission tuning in theory. Now here's the question, is the Aisin transmission tunable? That's the other reason why I turned my nose up at it, is for a long time you could not tune an Aisin. And that really irked me. So I'm going to have to do some research on the Aisin now that I've driven one. I am not in love with the 410 speed. Definitely not in love with the Allison version of the 410 speed, or the GM version that Allison made worse with a terrible valve body choice. Their failure rates are in far excess of the Fords, and the Fords are a little bit concerning. I don't really think you need to have 10 gears, don't really want to have 10 gears. I don't even like the 410 speed. So, not jumping ship for any other reason than not sure I'm in love with the 10-speed setup. I really like the 6R140. In my truck, I specifically bought my truck for the 6R140 and the 355 gears. I ordered it that way because I wanted it. I'm going to have to ask him what gears this truck has, so I can tell you. I don't know. If I had to guess, it has 410s, but I don't think this has any extreme gears. I would be very pleased to hear that it had 410s. And it looks like with the reset, with the smart driving, it's getting 12. Yeah, I'm quite pleased. Love having the knobs. Looks like this one has upfitter switches. I asked him to find out what the truck has. There's already a truck that they ordered that's not here yet that hasn't gone in for upfitting. So, god dang it, we're almost back to the dealership. I don't want to go back. I love this truck. This truck is definitely an expression of me, for sure. I love these mats, and I love that I can keep my truck cleaner, keep the stupid miles off it, go places that I don't want to go with my mud tires, like to the dump with not my mud tires. So, highly interested in doing this route. My truck's going to be paid off this year, and I think I'd like to get another truck. A specific truck for doing work. I love this truck. Wow, I can't believe I'd say that. I came here to do the test drive thinking I was going to hate it. Should have known I wouldn't hate a Cummins. It's definitely not a speed demon. They're definitely putting some major torque controls on it to protect the trans. But I have heard, especially people with cabin chassis who are working these trucks, seeing 3,000 and 4,000, 100,000 miles out of an Aisin. Now, it's not my biggest reason for not liking it is because it's not a speed demon. But as I grow up, I realize I don't need it to be a speed demon. I love this truck. I don't know what it'd be like in the long term, but I freaking love this truck. So, maybe you'll see one on the channel at some point. If you want to see one on the channel, hit the like and subscribe, because the channel growing enough to help support Bad Choices is exactly what we're going to need. So if you want to be part of the Bad Choices, like, subscribe, and maybe we'll go and maybe we'll get to that point. I'd love to get to that point. Look at somebody taking time for an Easter arrangement in the front of their house. How nice. I love Easter egg hunts. I always loved that when I was a kid. My daughter loves it. And anyway, definitely a huge fan. So, Thank you for tuning in. I know I didn't do anything too crazy, and I'm not loaded. They're not going to let you just hook up to a trailer and take a test drive in the truck, so sorry about that. You guys have an awesome day, and thank you for watching this review of a 2023 F550 with an Aisin and a Cummins, and I don't know the horsepower rating. It's probably 350 and like 850 foot-pounds of torque or something. It's plenty enough. It does the job, and maybe they'll be tuning for it in the future. Love the truck. In the short test drive I just did, looks like she's averaged 12.6. Whoopsies, I just hit a button. Why did I do that? Nope, stop that. I hit the speed control button. Get back here. Looks like it's averaging 12.7 or something. Wow. I don't want to. I'm going to be pulling in the driveway here. I don't want to get rid of this truck. Dang it. You guys have a great day.